everyone, it's Jessica. Thanks for joining me today. So today I'm going to be scrapbooking one 4x6 photo, and I pulled out my Simple Stories for the Record collection to use for my layout. I have a ton of different embellishments, die cuts, things of that nature from this collection that I'm going to use, and I thought that the colors in it worked really well with my photo. So I was looking on my Pinterest board and I have saved this layout. I've had it for a long time and I really love the triangles in it, so I'm going to use that as my inspiration piece. I already flipped through all of my pattern papers and I pulled two that I think I want to use for some of those triangles. I like the camera one and the stripes here. And then I thought that I would use a solid cardstock for my third triangle. So I've got a couple of different options here. And while I kind of love that green color, it matches the colors in the pattern paper really well. It doesn't really match my photo, so I opted to go with the blue one instead. Then I decided that I was just going to go ahead and build my layout on that blue cardstock, and rather than cutting a triangle out of the blue cardstock. So that means that I really need to cut only the two pattern papers. So to get my triangles ready to go, what I did is I cut the pattern paper at 6 inches by 12. And then I'm just kind of thinking about what direction the triangle is going to go to make sure that I have the angle going in the right way. So because it's too big to put into my paper trimmer, I'm going to have to do a little bit of cutting here by hand. And I am not very good at cutting a straight line. So I am giving myself a pencil guide here to use. So I'll go ahead and pull out my scissors and just follow that line that I had traced from corner to corner. So this will be the pattern paper that goes on the bottom of the layout, and then I'm going to do the stripes on the top. Now, I did want my stripes running in this direction horizontally because my photo is going in the opposite direction. But normally when I have a striped paper like this, if I'm going to cut into it, I cut the other way. I cut against the stripes rather than cutting with the stripes because I just like the look of that better. And I'm like, I only need a 6-inch piece. And if I cut it so that I get 6 inches, and have my line still going horizontally, I just know I'm not really going to use the scrap that's left over as much as I would if I cut my lines going in the other direction. So a change of plans here, I decide to cut my triangle so that my lines end up going vertically, even though really I would have preferred for them to go horizontally. But like I said, I love this paper, and I knew I would get more use out of the scrap if I had cut that down in this way instead. So now I have to do an opposite corner to corner cut here. So again, I'm just going to grab my ruler and draw a little guideline, pull out my scissors, and get that cut down. So after I did this, I realized that I actually wanted to have a little bit of a margin all the way around my page. I didn't want those triangles to butt all the way up to the edge and be the full 12 inches. And so I kind of hemmed and hawed about this a little bit and was trying to think through in my head, like, if I cut this down, is it going to screw anything up? I don't think it will. So what I'm going to do is just cut off the one edge. I think it'll still be fine, like angle-wise and everything. So I end up cutting a 1/2 inch off just that one side. And actually it just turns out perfectly. So if you end up making this layout as well, just know that you can do that. So it didn't screw anything up angle-wise that way. I wanted to do something in this middle blue cardstock area to make a third triangle just a little bit more noticeable. And I had an idea to use my little stylus tool here and kind of push through some lines and then grab my little sanding tool and reveal the white core. So that way I could have like a white triangle line outlining that blue cardstock section. So that was my thought. But then as soon as I started trying to make it happen, I realized that there was going to be a little bit of a challenge with that, because in order for that embossed line to be raised up, I have to flip the paper over before I run the stylus tool over it, which was kind of okay on this part because I knew I just needed to come a 1/4 inch in from the edge. But then when it got to the part where I needed to draw or push in the lines for the other two sides of the triangle, I'm like, oh gosh, there's no way if I turn this paper over that I'm going to be able to see what I'm doing and get it in the right spot. I'm going to end up having this wonky looking, embossed triangle line situation going on. And so I got a little kind of confused here. I'm like, I don't know what to do about this. So I decided to scratch that idea and just fall back on my old usual favorite, which was instead to add some stitching detail all the way around in there. So after getting my stitching done, I went through a bunch of the different die cuts. I have so much stuff here. I bought pretty much everything that came along with this collection. And I've already pulled a couple of the floral pieces, a few of there's some really fun tag kind of things in here. Just some things that I think that it might be fun to layer up behind my photo. I also pulled out the number 3 because we have 3 kids, and this is actually the one and only photo that I took on Father's Day. So I thought it would be fun to work the 3 in there somehow. But I'm just kind of pulling out a few things, and then I'm like, oh, I don't want to forget I do have the sticker sheet too. And then also the other thing that I have to work with is some of my pattern papers have some cut aparts. And so I went through those and kind of looked. Didn't see anything on that particular paper. But this paper has tags on both sides. So I was taking a look at the tags. I'm like, oh, I really like these ones down here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that bottom row of tags up and pick one of them to use on my layout. So one of the things that I love about doing layouts like this, where you have only 1 or 2 photos, is that it's really easy to do the embellishing because you just layer a bunch of stuff underneath of your photo and it really kind of fills in the space. And it makes the embellishment process really fast and really easy, especially if you're working with a collection like this where everything already coordinates. And it just turns out really pretty and it's a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite kinds of ways to scrapbook. So now that I have a whole bunch of stuff set aside, I think I've got enough to start building. So I did go ahead and mat my photo on one of the different pattern papers there. I start layering by using my biggest pieces. So I have that tag that I cut out of the pattern paper, and then I also have the other tag that came with the die cut ephemera. It is awesome. It looks like one of the tickets that waitresses write your order on, which I think is a lot of fun. I don't know, I used to be obsessed with those when I was a little kid and playing restaurant. So I just think it's really fun that this is another way to, play with it, even though you're older. And so I'm just layering things up. Now I've got the big ones. For the most part, I'm moving on now to the bigger florals. And then I start moving into some of the smaller pieces. So even on the florals, I am adding a couple of more sprigs of leaves just to build it out a little bit. And it all comes together so quickly. Other than making a pile of possible die cuts that I might want to use, I hadn't really planned any of this out. But that's what I love about using the collection, is that you have all of the different embellishment pieces right there, and you just start tucking, layering, and it comes together so fast and it's so easy. And honestly, I think they always turn out so cute. I just love these kind of layouts. So I'm moving a couple of things around and trying to decide if I want to use everything that I had initially pulled. And I use almost everything. A couple of these smaller pieces I end up leaving out. I'm going to bring that one square back in though and put it in the bottom right-hand corner of my photo. And looking just for a little bit more of the florals here. I want some more down here in the bottom corner underneath that square. But for the most part, I think that's going to be it for a lot of the embellishment pieces. I think I'm going to end up pulling one more little flower and tucking it in on the top. But at this point, I realized that I hadn't really thought about the title. I thought about the journaling. I'm going to put it on that little ticket piece over to the right of the photo. That's where I'm going to write my little bit of journaling. But I don't have a title. So I think maybe down here under the photo, perhaps. But I'm not really sure. So I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down before I accidentally knock it and get everything in the wrong place. So I've got most things glued down, and now I'm just finishing up by adding a couple of the pieces with some 3D foam tape. I really liked this number 3 because we have 3 kids, and this is a photo from Father's Day, and so I thought that the 3 worked out. It's kind of like a fun little nod to that. And then even though I had placed that little paper clip die cut on my original, formation, when I glued everything down, I don't know, I must have moved stuff just enough that I couldn't quite it didn't quite go back the same way. So I ended up not using that. I add a little bit of twine to my tag, and now I'm trying to figure out the title. So I'm playing around with some of my die cuts here just to see, can I spell out like maybe the best, and then I could do like you're the best, or I was like, do I do like Happy Father's Day? And then I took a look at the sticker sheet and I didn't really see anything in there that I loved either. And honestly, I was like, I don't really like the look of putting the letters down here anyway. And there's not really a lot of room over to the right-hand side in the remaining blue space over there. So I think I'm going to go titleless. I don't know. Does there always have to be a title on the layout? Sometimes I'm okay with there not being a title. So I'm just going to kind of let it be what it is. Then I remembered that, of course, I always remember this after I glue the things down, that I had wanted to use a little bit of my blue gloss spray and add a couple of splatters to the page. So I just protected my photo and then added a couple of sprinkles around a few of the areas there. And then that is nearly it. I did find one other little sticker off the sticker sheet that I put underneath the number 3. And so it just says 3 good things. I'm like, that can be the title. It was Father's Day and we've got the 3 kids. So there you go, 3 good things. Like I said, I'll add the journaling to that little tag over there to the right. And I did include a few of the enamel dots from the collection, and that was it. Yeah, I just love this kind of embellishing process. It creates itself, it turns out beautifully, and it's a lot of fun to do. So I hope you guys have been inspired. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye.